Welcome back. I'm done sorting all the basic brick, and what I wanted to do is just kind of show you one of the cool things that happens when you do sort by color after you sort by type, which is what's the relative rarity of the color of Lego brick, or kind of what's the distribution of colors that are happening in the Lego system. Now, it's been a long time since I bought a ton of bulk Lego. And I can tell you with the really old Samsonite stuff, you pretty much only got white and red. They were the most popular colors. But I was surprised with this recent lot because I've got, a bag and a half of black. And then I wound up with 2 bags of white, which meant that white was the most popular color by far, which really surprised me. There's a good amount of light gray and dark gray, probably from Star Wars themes and cities and buildings. When you think about Lego colors, you often think about blue and red and yellow. But I'd say blue is about a half of these large bags, whereas red, it's maybe only a third, along with yellow. So these are not as common as they used to be, which surprised me. Now, orange is always a bit harder to find, but now I'm seeing a lot more of the reddish brown, which is about, I'd say, a little under half, whereas tan is about over half. So tan's really popular, reddish brown. You start to get into your nougats and stuff in a smaller, quart-sized bag. The greens, half quart of green, light green a little less, dark green is even harder to find, and then you start to get into the bright, or what I call friendly colors, which I always try to sort out anyway in my first sort, so this is not really representative, but they are hard to find, to the point where maybe there's only 1 or 2, one purple brick, the light bright orange Chima. There's only 2. I was trying to take dark red out along the way. There's a little bit of dark blue. Dark brown is much rarer. And then you get into the stranger, even other browns. And this is the old gray. So vintage gray, brown gray or bray, and brown light gray is in there, versus what people call blay, which is the bluish gray, which is the more modern stuff. So there were a couple vintage sets mixed in. It's kind of uncommon to find them, but very interesting for me to note that, as I look at this stuff, if I look at the yellow, I probably wouldn't sort this even further. I can turn over the bag and I can see 1x1s, 1x2s, 2x4s very easily. So a smaller bag like this, I wouldn't sort it by type any further. But when I get into the white, this is so much stuff that I'm probably going to sort it again by relative type, so that it'll just make more sense to be able to find it. As far as the break point, maybe I do this with blue, maybe not. Definitely not red. Maybe tan. But these smaller bags, if that's in your collection, you could put that in a tray. You could find things very easily. It wouldn't be a big deal. But when you start to deal with stuff like 2 gallons, it's time to sort it down and break it down even more by type. I prefer to break down black by type because it's incredibly difficult, at least for my eyes, to be able to see what different types of brick are in there in a black bag. Black is so hard for me to distinguish, I probably have to label the bags as well, tell you what they are when I start to do it by type. But anyway, if you're going to sort by type, and then I do by color, and once I get it down to reasonable size like this would not be difficult to go through and find it. But it's good also when you're building to think about how much of a certain color you really have. So this would be more for highlights. I'd want to, be limited on the use of my greens here, and especially when I start to get down into the red, the nougat. The tan I've got a whopping amount of, definitely white whopping amount. So this would be my filler brick if I had to choose my color palettes. And then rock work, I'm set. I've got lots of dark gray, light gray. So this starts to influence your mock building as well, where you know, you're really looking at quantities and planning out your build of how you're going to structure your color palettes. Anyway, I thought that would be kind of a cool thing to think about. It's all by color, and then I'll probably get into sorting the white by type and do a little bit of extra on this video showing you kind of how I start to break things down by subtype, a third pass.